Hello everyone, it's me again with my new video. That video is dedicated to talk about the def analysis example. And as usually I will start with the first one part, it's the history of that video, then it will be the second part which is the subject of that video, it's def analysis example, and the last one is a small conclusion. Okay, let's start about the history. In my experience, I've seen at least two main types of junior engineers. The first one, it's like junior whom you can ask to do or implement any story, and in return he will tell you, okay, I can do that very fast. And he will do that fast, even faster than ChatGPT. The second type, it's junior developers who are realistic, who can tell you, yes, I can, but I may need your time. And in general, it's a challenge for me. And I don't want to say that the first is better than the second. And me personally belong, when I was young, to the first type. The only one exception is the third one type of junior developers or engineers who will never be an engineer. But it's like an exception usually. Okay, and thinking about the fasters, the people who can faster implement something, I'm thinking about it. I've decided to create an example of def analysis of any story, to take one story and consider it, to talk about the questions which may related to that story, like a grooming, like example of a grooming. And by the way, in some companies, dev analysis, it's like the separate task which is done by developers. And the purpose of that discussion, analysis, is to show for people who has less experience in engineering, like junior developers, business owners, the complexity of engineering job, why it's costs so much effort, and why you need to have a professional guys who can estimate, who can analyze, who can really do development with the highest quality. And also about the risks, because eventually risks may lead to serious expenses for your company. So, okay, let's start. Which story I've decided to pick up as an example? In my case, I've decided sending off emails. Let's assume you have a website. Doesn't matter what is the website. You want to create the contact form. So the simple form which you have seen many times, I believe, from different other projects. Using that form, users may send the message for you, and obviously you want to be informed in some interesting or proper way, like on your email box you want to receive that someone have sent a message from your website. So that's the original story. Let's assume that front-end engineer or full-stack engineer has implemented already the form. He has implemented the sending request to backend. He is full stack and he's using Node.js. It's like an assumption. So he has created a special controller which receives that request, and then he injects the Node Mailer library which send the message or email already to this SMTP server, and then it gets your email box. He tested, he has completed, it's a fast solution, it works, everything is fine. So that let's now step by step, not so deeply, but at least in some boards, consider that step. Let's start with the email sending. So you may trying to think about what else can be done there. For example, you may find that generation of template may be really a challenge for you. Why? Because it's not the case when you will send simply the message to your email box. You want to see a spectacular maybe form. Also, you may decide that you want to send not just only that type of messages but other types. And so you think that generation of template is the case. Especially if you have already the experience of creating templates. If you don't, you will have that experience. And if you want to maintain the such old school email clients like Outlook or anything like that, you know how it's painful to generate to develop email templates. And thinking about that, you may decide maybe I can try to find other services, third-party services, cloud service, which can help me with that. And you may reach some, for example, service, cloud service, which has an admin panel, registration. You can create an account and then you approach admin panel, which can, through which you can create template, you can manage all the emails which you have sent, you can check all of them, you can, for example, to configure any email sendings, regular email sendings. You can choose a targeting audience to which that or another email should belong to. And you understand it's very good because look, if you have any admin panel, if it works, and if it has even JavaScript library which you can integrate instead of NodeMailer, so it's simple, and then you can delegate to use that admin panel by someone from business. And business then can do whatever they want. You can, around that API, create your own endpoints and mechanism services and provide ability to your business to manage email sending, not just only those which comes from the your website. So as you can see, it's like a challenge, but it's also flexibility, and it's like a requirements already for your architecture. So as you can see, the architecture is also important question, because before you were using NodeMailer, now you have option to use a different provider, different channel. So possibly you have to predict what other requirements may happen there. For now, you have just only the one controller on the backend side, and that controller has like sending all the not mail, sending through the, for example, Gmail, yeah, from sending to the Gmail email service, and that's it. But already you have many other requirements and capabilities which you can like analyze, and which are the requirements for the architecture. I would suggest it to think about delegate, about adapter patterns, maybe anything else. Why delegate? Because you may decide eventually that you will work with both channels. For example, the third-party channel or the Gmail SMTP server channel, and you can switch it. Okay, but thinking about again third-party, you may then reach an idea that what about the personal information? If I can check those emails, that means that any other guy who is working in that company may also at least have an access to that data. Yeah. So, and possibly I have to think what the sort of the emails I gonna to send through that third-party service. If it's password, if it's what about the medical information which are related, which may related to user directly. So everything that looks like should be considered, and possibly you may read the terms and conditions of that service. You may possibly ask your lawyers to check what our risks if some information will be lost, or I don't know, missed, or anyone will read, and what will it be disaster, so something like that. So it's a risks anyway. And then you may, okay, if I have two channels, and having delegate pattern, I may substitute or change or switch those two channels, depends on what type of email I want to send. If it's like securable kind of, which contains personal information or anything like that, I may send directly through the Gmail, or I may even create my own SMTP server. If it's like the regular news emails, something that's public and doesn't have any sensitive information, you may use that channel. So when you have collected all the requirements, you can create the architecture, and believe it will be also the challenge to create a good architecture. Why it's important to have a good architecture? Because next time when business will come to you with an idea, okay, let's create the third part, the third solution, the third channel, or I don't know, any other things, your architecture will be like a stable. You will ahead to know how you will implement that. Okay, let's talk about the controller again. Looks like that's it, you have already architecture. Don't forget about validation. I understand that you may tell me like why we need here validation if it's like front-end form and on front-end side we can implement. It's up to you, but my principal position, double validation should always be implemented on a backend side. That's the protection of your API, of your endpoints, because if something is not valid, even your server may be broken. You have to think. I understand that you will have some error handling or something like that, but anyway, I would suggest it to protect in any case. So let's consider the front end. The front end looks like simple, but again, it's simple for those who has experience of creating the forms. Don't forget about the spinners, because user will wait until you're sending that message through the channel. Don't forget about the disabling of the input fields and button when user again is waiting. Also, don't forget to inform the user if it has been successfully sent. So many issues which you have to consider to discuss. And also the last one, which is important as well, is to protect your endpoint from someone will use you for spam emails, for spamming. Yeah, you have to protect yourself. So at least for public users, you have to implement reCAPTCHA, and don't forget it. So as you can see, there are many issues may happen there. There are many discussions. There are many sides. For example, here you considering third-party service, you may need to consider legal issues. Also, you may consider the opportunities of this particular third-party solution. Maybe you will decide to move on with a different solution. For example, the architecture is important because you have to predict possible cases which may happen in the head of the business. Like, for example, the usual, not like the case which can improve the UX behavior. When users send a message, and when you have read that message, when you click on in your email box on that message, we can send in information to that user, first of all to backend, and then backend can resend again to that user because he put his email in that message, and we can inform him that this email and your message has been read, and in 15 minutes you can wait a response. It's, I think, very good. So analyzing architecture, you have to think about all possible cases what business may ask you to implement. Creating a front-end application, you should follow the usual UX patterns, implementing, as I said, spinners and so on. You don't need to forget about the security of the channel and everything like that. So as I said, the first simple solution may then turn to the complicated, which costs a lot of efforts with a huge development implementation. And I think that's it. And good luck. Thanks. Bye.